But it's so true. We talk a lot about how like we've become complacent. We've become kind of lazy that we just drop our kids off at the field or court and they just absorb leadership and teamwork and it just happens. And
Mhm.
the smell of the grass is going to make that happen. And that's just not the way it's right.
Yeah, we're actively a part of an initiative called the MillionCoachesChallenge, which is it's funded by the Susan Crown Exchange, and they're really invested in social and emotional learning, youth development. They've come to the sports space because they see the potential of sport, but acknowledge that this doesn't just happen. Like sometimes, yes, we might get lucky. I think about my coaches, my dad and a couple others who were really influential, and I think landed on some good practices. But it's almost coincidental in a lot of respects. You just maybe get lucky because you had a parent or a coach who was a teacher, for example, or had that background. And I think that what the Million Coaches Challenge is trying to do, and there's lots of really great organizations who are part of this, is say, we're going to not take this for granted. We're going to invest in training coaches in key practices in youth development, like how to build relationships, how to create a good, healthy motivational climate, how to, direct kids to certain resources that are important for their long-term well-being, and also how to address urgent crises. How do we address mental health issues and things of that nature. So I think like it's a great initiative. We hope people pay attention to it and really follow it. We'll be sharing more at the summit.
The point that you bring up too is the issue there, that why the sport is not a profession or professionalized is because it's not systematic, structured, comprehensive, and regulated.
Yes.
And so it's so fragmented and disjointed that you end up with these massive gaps that when you point it out, doesn't make people don't realize it. And then you're like, man, like we could do this better. We've done this in so many other jobs or careers or professions, but we don't do it in particularly in sport or in coaching or sport management.
And even if you look at the places where there is sort of like systematic regulation, like schools where there's coach training requirements, there's so much variation. Well, there's so much variation, and the regulation is quite minimal, right? It's like take these 2 or 3 courses that tend to be like a CPR, and it's obviously important. Right.
Yeah.
But it's not comprehensive, to your point. Yeah. And, folks like yourself who run, master's programs where you spend years diving into the work, I myself, I've done a PhD in coaching, master's degree in education. I think the entire time that we've spent years, lifetimes trying to learn what coaching is about.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge because we know how complex and nuanced the practice is and how many different sort of bases of knowledge you need to be effective.